Hi everybody, I'm back with some models to show and tell. I finished the current trunk show if you've been following the videos. So the models, the newer models that are actually traveling with the trunk show got shipped this week and to the Silver Needle in Tulsa. And so now those are out of here and hopefully we'll be traveling where some of you folks can see them for real and firsthand. So, but I got a lot of great feedback. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the videos. And so I'm going to keep going. I have published hundreds of titles, designs in the last 20 years, and many of them have multiple models. I can't keep them all. Periodically, I actually have a model sale at market so that shop owners can purchase models to have in their shops. Because there's no way I can keep them all. But I do have a pretty good stash still here at the house. And so I think for the next few videos, I'm just gonna kind of go through those and show you some of what I have. So these are kind of taking a little bit of a walk down memory lane sometimes, but they're still great models. So here we go. What I'm gonna work on with this little video is what I call the classics. When I started doing the petites on silk gauze 10 or 12 years ago, they were great, but I had people who just kind of were reluctant to, you know, they might love the design, but they were reluctant to give it a go because of the silk gauze. So what I did is I tried out something called classics, and I took the petites design and I tweaked it just a little bit. And I published a chart pack that was just a pattern based on the original petite design that was sold more for standard cross stitch. So I have 5 of those that are still current. So I want to show you those, and I'll show you both the petite and the classic. So these are still doing quite well. In fact, I reformatted them here recently, and my distributor's just been selling them left and right. So I imagine when you get back into your stores, you'll be seeing these. So let me start with Always Thankful. I'm gonna show you first the petite. This is the pretty little design on silk gauze. There is always, always, always something to be thankful for. And it was published in kind of the fall time of year in conjunction with Thanksgiving. And so it has a more rustic fall color palette. It's been a great seller over the years. It continues to do really, really well because it says what it says is so true, and the design is just very straightforward. So what I did then is I adapted this design. In this case, there wasn't a lot of change. And so here is what I call the classics. This one's stitched on 40 count linen. And if you look closely, the design is pretty much the same. But what I did here is I added a border that goes all the way around. That's really the only change on that one. Without the border, it just kind of seemed to float in open space, and I really liked what that did for it. So you can still purchase Always Thankful in the Petites collection, which will have a cut of silk gauze in it. Or you can purchase Always Thankful Classic, which is just the basic chart. So if you like the design and you haven't seen it or purchased it yet, when you go to your shop owner, be sure that you tell them and specify whether you want the petite on silk gauze or the classic. Okay? And shop owners, if you watch these, for a long time the classics were available just exclusively from me. But my distributor does carry those now. So you can get either one from the distributor. Alrighty, so that's Always Thankful. Next, we'll go to Beach Blessing. This is another one that has just continued to do really, really well over the years. It was one of my early ones. May you always have a shell in your pocket and sand in your toes. So if you love the beach, whether it's the oceanside beach or a lake, you know, how appropriate is this? Again, a pretty little simple design, a cool little border, and fun little beachy motifs. So this is the original Petites design. Comes with the silk gauze. A few years later, I introduced the classic and finished it into a large pincushion. And if you look here, this is the same design here on the inside. It says the same thing, has the same little crab and pelican and seashore and a border. But I've added an additional border here where you can date it if you like. Okay, so that's the primary difference here. And Just Another Button Company has a wonderful set of pins. Actually a couple of their sets of pins are really appropriate for anything that you got that's beach themed. So this is the classic of Beach Blessing, and this is the Petite. This is also kind of a good illustration to show you how you can take these silk gauze designs and stitch them really on anything you want. Almost all of them translate very easily. Sometimes if there's a lot going on in the backgrounds where I've maybe done multiple colors in the backgrounds, it might be a little bit more, it's not impossible, but it might take a little bit more thought as to how you would translate it to cross stitch. But you can see, same design, 40 count silk gauze and linen. And I believe this might be 32 count. It's been a little while, so I don't recall exactly when. Okay, moving along. I'm going to show you, this is Good Every Day. So it's still one of my favorites. Find the good in every day. And these days I think we need to do that more than ever, because there really is always something there, even if it might be kind of insignificant. But this is just a pretty urn bursting with flowers and has the alphabet added there at the bottom. There on the silk gauze, there's a tiny little satin stitch sawtooth border all around the edge. So even at this small scale, you can add pretty texture with details like that. So this is the Petites collection piece that comes with the silk gauze and the chart pack. And what I did when I made the classic, instead of something framed, I wanted to do something a little different. I stitched it on linen. So same flowers, same saying, still has the alphabet around the bottom. But I made it into a simple little needle book, which is basically just a little trifold with a ribbon that can come around and tie it closed. This could be really finished any way you want. And this is very, very simple. There's some pretty pins in there, some wool pieces for various bits. This is a pocket that I created for a little small pair of scissors, and I used one of the flower motifs from the main design and made a little itty bitty fob. So if you wanted to put a little mini pair of scissors in here. So this is Good Every Day in the classic versus the Petite. So the primary difference here, there's still that sawtooth border around the edge, or it's at least something similar, but there's an additional border. And if you look down there where the alphabet is, it's the darker background is not filled in there. So there's an example of what I tweaked to make this one just a little bit different, but the primary design and the sentiment are exactly the same. Classic and Petite. Okay. Next, this one is Random Threads. This is just basically random thoughts of lots of things related to stitching and sewing. So there's balls of yarn, there's a spindle, there's scissors, needles, sewing machine, spool of thread. I've spelled out pins, wool, needles, silk, just various bits, just all kind of tucked in together for random threads. Little tiny thing. This is actually not a bad one if you're just starting out on silk gauze, because it's got nice strong colors for the motifs. So what I did for the classic So I changed up the colors, and I added another border all the way around. It's got an alphabet in there, some motifs, and again some great pins from Just Another Button Company. So just two shades of pretty reds stitched on the linen and finished into a cushion. So again, pretty much the same design, petite and classic, but just depending on your fabric choice and your thread colors, completely different look. Random threads. Finally, the other classic that is currently still available is These Three Remain. And what this started out with was 3 individual petites chart packs for Faith, Hope, and Love. And so we had Faith, and these are all monochromatic. I did them in different colors just to change them up a little bit. But there's the word Faith, and then there's a little smaller quotation or part of a verse that describes that sentiment a little bit, and an interesting border. So that's Faith. We have Hope. The borders are slightly different, but they've got the same kind of feel. So there's Hope. Here's Love, done in the red. Now these 3 petites that are packed with the silk gauze are sold separately. Partly because I release them at slightly different times. They include the cut of silk gauze, so some of you might have chosen just to do 1 or 2 of them rather than all 3. So these are sold separately. But the classic, I came along and I put everything together in one. Back off just a little bit here. See this? I've arranged Faith, and there's Hope and Love, and those are exactly the same as they were on the petites design, but I've added the words These Three Remain up here at the top, and there's some little small borders here and there, as well as an exterior border that kind of pulls everything in together. So this is classic These Three Remain, and it does have everything here as shown. If you want the gauze, you would want to buy the individual petites collection. I hope that makes sense. I think it's fairly clear, and as I've been doing before, I'll put links in the Facebook post so that you can go directly to my website and see the details for the design, and it will give you supply lists and details for each, both the petites collection design as well as the classics design. So you can study that a little bit more, kind of decide what you want to do. And again, when you contact your shop owner, be sure you specify to them that you want either the petite, which has the silk gauze in it, or if you want the classic design, because that will be, there's a price difference because of the silk gauze, and we just don't want to have to send things back and forth and delay any further stash enhancement for you. Okay, so those are the 5 classics that are currently available, and I hope you've enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, and I will do this periodically and show you some of my models that I still have that are in a drawer and just need to come out and see the daylight for a bit. Thanks again for watching. Be well, everybody. Bye-bye.